or has a family member serving right now. All I want to say, very briefly before John speaks, now's the time to stand by them. Don't send them mixed messages. Pray for them, because victory is required for this nation in Iraq. And if we'll stand behind these men and women, we will have victory. God bless you. Thanks for coming. Now, and here's John McCain. You believe in victory, right?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've been leaning on Henry McMaster for a long time. Henry, thank you for your broad shoulders, not only for me, but for the great state of South Carolina, where you have served as the chairman of our Republican Party, as a U.S. Attorney, and now as great Attorney General. Thank you, Henry, for all you have done. I know that all of you appreciate him. First of all, I'd like to say thanks to my friend Phil Graham. He's a wonderful and dear friend, but he was the first voice of tax cuts, of less government and smaller government. And believe it or not, he doesn't like me to mention this very often, but he started out as a Democrat, saw the light, and become one of our Republican leaders in the United States Senate and in this nation. So, Phil, thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Governor Keating, thank you so much for your commitment to the rights of the unborn and your great governorship and others. You know, I was reminded of a story about the two inmates in the state prison in the chow line. One of them turned to the other one and said, the food was a lot better in here when you were governor. So, Doug, thank you for your leadership. Reverend Hamlet, thank you for the prayer. Thank you so much for being here. I'd like to thank our host, the restaurant's owner. I guess we'll have to pay the damages. Are they here?
Yeah, right there.
Great. That's Harry and Pano here. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you very much. We're grateful. Thank you very much. Representative Bob Walker, thank you. Bob, thank you for your great job as our representative, despite the fact he was a member of the United States Air Force. But we won't go into that. And, of course, our Secretary of State, Mark Hammond, is here. Mark, thank you very much for all you do. Thank you, and Doug. And a special thanks, a very special thanks to a great leader, a great military man, a great motivator, a great recruiter, the most loyal supporter that we have of the men and women in the military in the state of South Carolina, Stan Spears. Stan, thank you for all your leadership. And Stan will be the first to tell you, the most patriotic Americans in our great country are in our National Guard. They are doing things today that no Guard has ever been asked for in the history of our country. They are doing it with courage and bravery. Thank you, Stan. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for all of you. Thank you very much. Lindsay and I go to Iraq quite often to try and assess the situation and meet with the men and women who are fighting. More often than not, we encounter someone from the South Carolina Guard who is serving with bravery and courage. And we also know that there are a number of families in this state who have made the ultimate sacrifice. We can never, ever thank them enough. By the way, 7. Thank you. We also have, I see by their hats, some of our great veterans who honor us with their presence here today. Could you raise your hands, my friends, so we can thank you for Thank you very much. Cindy sends her very best to all our friends here in South Carolina, and I would remind you that after I lost the primary here in South Carolina in 2000, I slept like a baby. Sleep 2 hours, wake up and cry, sleep 2 hours. But we did have an opportunity to travel all over this great state and meet the wonderful people, the great, patriotic, wonderful citizens of this great state, and we've made friendships and relationships which we will never forget, which we will always treasure. Some of our greatest memories. And I want to say a special word about the man who just yesterday stood up for the men and women in the military in the most magnificent fashion that I know you're incredibly proud of, and that's Senator Lindsey Graham, who is the best United States Senator that I can tell you. My friends, I cannot tell you the pride that I felt when Lindsey Graham stood on the floor of the Senate yesterday and revealed that chicanery and foolishness and gimmickry that was going on the floor of the United States Senate, and stood up for the men and women and talked about the message that we support the troops supposedly, but we don't support their mission. We think it's going to fail and we don't want them to go. You tell me how that works. You tell me how that works. This man stood up for everything that our military stands for and believes in, and thank you again for your support of this fine man. I have to talk to you about a couple issues. One, judges. I'm proud to have worked with Lindsey Graham as we were able to get appointed a number of judges to the federal bench and to the appellate court. I'm very proud. We have two of the finest Supreme Court justices in history, in Justice Roberts and Justice Alito. I want to assure you, if I am President of the United States, I will appoint judges that strictly interpret the Constitution of the United States and do not legislate from the bench. I know that's important. The tax cuts that Americans have benefited from and have helped this economy enormously must be made permanent, otherwise they will have the effect of a tax increase. I want you to understand one thing, and it's a little straight talk. We lost the 2006 election, not so much because of Iraq, although Iraq is certainly on people's minds. We lost it because we Republicans lost our way. We came to power and to change government in 1994, and government changed us. We began to value power over principle. And we went on a spending spree of almost unprecedented proportions. I am embarrassed to stand before you and tell you we presided over the greatest increase in the size of government since the Great Society. And the people punished us. The people punished us because we no longer adhered to the principles of Ronald Reagan of fiscal discipline. My favorite, probably of all of the pork barrel spending, was the $3 million we decided to spend to study the DNA of bears in Montana. Now, I don't know if that was a criminal issue or a paternity issue. We don't need to spend the $3 million. In 1984, Ronald Reagan vetoed the then highway bill that had 152 earmarked pork barrel projects on it. He said at the time, I haven't seen this much pork since I gave out blue ribbons at the Iowa State Fair. Now, my friends, last 2 years ago, the President signed into law a highway bill that had 6,140 earmarked projects in it, $20-some billion worth, including the now famous Bridge to Nowhere. I'm sure you all remember the Bridge to Nowhere. $233 million bridge to an island in Alaska with 50 people in it. We could have bought Learjets for all of those residents rather than spend that money. So we've got to stop the spending. I want to assure you that if I'm President of the United States, I will veto every bill with a pork barrel project on it, and I will make the people that put it on famous, no matter whether they are Republican or Democrat. We will return to fiscal discipline and balance a budget and stop wasting your tax dollars. Friends, I'd like to make a couple of additional remarks, and then I'd like to take a minute to respond to any questions or comments or insults that you may have. Obviously, I have to talk to you about the war in Iraq. All of us are frustrated. All of us are angry because of the mishandling of the war. All of us are sad by the loss of our most precious asset, and that's American blood. And I'd be glad to go back with you and talk to you about all the mistakes that were made, but there's books